Hey guys, welcome to Young with Ram. You know the series where I answer the questions you posted and asked in the previous Young with Ram video. Nothing too big to speak about, just for free in about this week. Nothing big has happened, so yeah, let's go directly to the questions and let's start with two that were asked by private messages actually, and I actually read them maybe a couple minutes ago. As I was reviewing the commentaries of Young with Ram, I noticed I have some inbox messages, so took a look and yeah. First question is, Ram, how can you be that you know so much about so many things about planes? Well, this is a question actually related to the latest video I made about engines, how a piston engine works, and of course, some people are surprised that I know so much about that stuff. It's nothing very common. But if you think about it, guys, it's no different from someone who's passionate about motorcycles and they know a lot about motorcycles. So somehow, someone who really is into sports and they can tell you the starting lineup of any baseball team or football team or whatever their favorite sport is from 10 years ago. It's just about having a passion and being curious, and I'm a very curious guy when it comes down to history. And what happens here is that simply planes interests me. And particularly so the Focus 180 because it's a plane I'm in love since I was 9. But I'm also interested in other planes. In fact, the American planes, you would say that if I have to choose a favorite aircraft nation of World War II would be America, not Germany. Even while Germany had the Focus 180, but America had more planes that kind of more suit my tastes about air combat. But whatever. What happens here is that I would get a book about whatever plane it was, or maybe a compilation of descriptions about World War II planes. Kind of a catalog, maybe Jane's book about World War II planes, and I would read a lot of technical stuff about compression radios and about top powers and about RPM and about that kind of stuff, and I would understand nothing of that. I mean, we are speaking about getting those books when I was maybe 12. Because I was really passionate, and I actually had an agreement with my dad that if I had some very good school qualifications, I would get as a gratification to choose what I wanted within a sensible margin, of course. And I always went for very expensive books. They were expensive because they were imported, and they were imported because they were in English as well, of course. And I liked World War II plays, but in many cases I didn't know the book I was getting. So maybe I got Jane's, and I opened the book and I stumbled myself into just a collection of description about planes of World War II with a lot of technical data I didn't understand a single bit about. So yeah, I mean, if you like planes and you see a lot of technical stuff about the plane and you really want to know what it means, you really have to dig. So compression radio, what's a compression radio? What's this about RPM? What are RPMs? How they affect the engine, or that kind of stuff. So you look up compression radio, and then you have to understand how the um, the internal explosion engine work, and then you have to learn about the two-stroke and four-stroke and diesel engines, and then you have to understand how superchargers work because they were very important in World War II planes, and then you have to understand why superchargers were developed the way they were, and then you have to understand why a turbocharger had advantage over a supercharger and which were the advantages of a supercharger over a turbocharger. And then you find a reference in a book about Focus Finance using MW50 and you wonder what the fuck is that? And you have to look up for that. What is this? And you read methanol water injection. Well, okay, that sounds cool, but how it works? Why it works? Why a plane with a given power can work better when you inject this methanol and water? It's alcohol after all. So can you put vodka into the engine and it will work better? Well, no, it's not that. That's the kind of stuff. It's just one thing leading to another. You look into one thing. For instance, for me, were planes. I looked into planes, And I found technical descriptions I didn't understand, so I wanted to understand them, so I looked into them, and then led me to something else, which were engines and how they worked, and that led me to superchargers and how they worked, and then that led me back to the engines and knocking effects and how to get over that, and then that led me to ADI and methanol water injection, that kind of stuff, etc., etc., etc. And it's the same with every other item of World War II, because I'm passionate about World War II. So I'm the same about tanks, I'm the same about weapons, I'm the same about cannons, I'm all exactly the same about every single bit of information related to World War II, and quite some other historical periods as well, of course, because World War II is not the only part of history that really interests me. It's the one that gets me my attention the most, but it's not the one that really is the only one. So that's how I got to know so much about planes. There's nothing more about that. Of course, there's a lot about how I learned combat tactics and flying planes, and that was mostly in simulators, in computer simulators. But in what regards to empirical knowledge about planes and their power, their top speeds, their performances, etc., they come from reading so many damn books. So many. And that leads us to the second question, which is, Ram, which books about World War II planes would you recommend? Well, that actually depends a little bit because, I mean, I don't know what you're looking for. I mean, as in every other piece of literature, there's very different styles in what regards to this particular topic. So you can get, I don't know, maybe the Osprey collection of fighters where the description of the plane is not really thorough, but they tell you a lot about their combat record and about famous pilots, and they quote remarks about the planes from pilots who flew them. But of course, that's not really technical. So if you are looking for an entertaining read that teaches you a lot about the history of the plane and how it performed in actual combat, that would be good. But if you are looking into something more technical, then you should go woof, 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 to monographies, to books that just cover a single plane in detail from the technical point of view. And there are a lot of books about that, and there are a lot of authors about that for so many different planes. And then what you want maybe be looking forward to is just kind of an encyclopedia of planes of World War II, and then you have different choices. You have James, which is quite technical and is mostly a technical description of the plane more than a combat record of the plane. And then you have books that are kind of an encyclopedia where you have a very small box where top speeds, altitude, climb rates, that kind of stuff is mentioned, and it comes with a description about what the plane was used for, how more or less was its development, and how it performed in combat. For instance, I don't know, William Green's works on warplanes of the Third Reich, warplanes of the Royal Air Force, or warplanes of the United States Air Force. So he has books about everything, and they are really good for a amateur who really doesn't know a lot about World War II planes, and he's just looking for some basic information and to get educated at a very low level. Of course, they are not highly descriptive and they don't enter into massive detail, but they are still pretty good, even while some of them have some mistakes and some errors. Also, you have to understand that maybe many of the books that are considered really good today were written in the 60s and 70s, and even today, the ones that are written sometimes base their affirmations on something that was written in the 60s, 70s. Back in the 60s and 70s, there was not a huge interest about German aircraft, for instance, or Japanese aircraft, and little was known about them other than, well, some data that was floating around and was not always correct. In fact, many times it was incorrect. So many of those old books don't have the proper information. They are wrong. Some of them do, but they are very few. Um, but I don't know which books to recommend to you because I don't know what you're looking for. It's not. It's like if someone comes and tell me, Ram, can you tell me about some good World War II book? Well, yeah, of course, many. But what are you looking for? The memories of a general? Chronological description of World War II? A narrated description of World War II? A particular book about a particular theater of operation? Maybe some expert insight into a particular battle or campaign? Because then the book I'm going to recommend is very different. So yeah, when you guys do those kinds of questions, tell me exactly what you're looking for, because I don't know what to answer. Next question. Okay, now we start with the questions from the actual video. And the first question is, Ram, have you? I know you don't like first-person shooters a lot, but what about DayZ? The game can be really, really fun if you play with your friends. If you want, I can help you to get used to it. Well, first-person shooters are not my stuff, not because they are not fun for me, because they can be. Depends on the game, of course, but because I royally, utterly, absolutely, totally suck at them. And honestly, even if you have fun playing a game, if you are not good at it, after a while it gets a little bit old. Happened with me with Red Orchestra 2, for instance. I got it in an offer from Steam. Started playing it. I'm horrible at that game. Really, 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 like, really bad. But I liked it because I was playing it in classical mode, which is pretty realistic. Not totally realistic at all, of course, but gives you a good feeling of being there. And you know, guys, I'm all about simulators and some realistic features. So for me, if you compare, I don't know, Call of Duty with Red Orchestra, I'm going to choose Red Orchestra always. But on the long run, what it happened is that it got old really quickly because everyone was killing me. I was so damn bad. I simply don't have the eye to hand coordination with my mouse, at least, to do well in first person shooters. Or maybe I haven't tried hard enough. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, not DayZ, but there might be something related with a first person shooter in the future. We'll see. Because, well, there's something happening around. I'm not going to go further than that or say more than that. Next question. For a person who loved HB in War Thunder before 1.37, IL-2 Stormovic is a game that is worth having or not. IL-2 again. These IL-2 related questions probably are the most asked in my Run with Jam with Run videos. Um, I'm not impartial when it comes down to IL-2. That game and its successors, Pacific Fighters, Forgotten Balls, 1946, pissed me off so damn much that really I admit it, I have a chronicle hate for Oleg Maddox and his team, the guys who made that game. Um, the game is good in the technical sense. It's a very similar thing to IL-2. The problem with War Thunder, sorry, the problem with War Thunder and myself is that I see Gaijin doing exactly the same thing IL-2 did back in the day, which is dumb down everything to cater for the masses and to, let's say, do some balancing choices that make absolutely no historical sense at all whatsoever, and then go around saying they are portraying a realistic World War II experience, where it's not that way by far, at least not in the air combat part. I also have very bad flight models, horrible flight models, like horrendous flight models. Later, there has been some work with community mods, and there are some mods that improve it a lot. But even with those mods, it's still a little bit lacking. However, if you are looking for a game that gives you a proper feeling of being there, few games have achieved that in the same sense that IL-2 did. The immersion was incredible, as long as you weren't trying to fight something in Soviet, for instance. But The cockpits were so well made and so loyal to the real counterparts. The graphics for the era and even for today they are not bad. The graphics were superb, were incredible. It had so many planes, so many units, so many things you could fly. So if you are looking for something that is not totally realistic at all, and this that is done right, hysterically broken at some points, at least in the vanilla version, then IL2 can be really fun. I'm not going to deny the merits the game had. I mean, it was groundbreaking in technology back in the day. It was one of the most brilliant works ever done for the flight sim community from the technical standpoint. Graphics, amount of units, dynamic campaign for single missions, dynamic campaign for multiplayer missions. Um, so many things, so many good things that were ruined by the decision of making UFO Soviet planes and dog German planes, for instance. And then when they started other nationalities, there were a lot of issues as well because the flight models were so damn bad. But if what you're looking for is for a more or less immersive experience about flying a fighter in World War II, yeah, it's good. If you're looking for something that really resembles World War II performances, no, it's not. With mods, it becomes decently close and can be really fun. But the thing is, I can't be really objective about that game. Really, that game got me so damn angry because I saw such a good opportunity for something really good to be made and historically accurate and fun for everyone and really realistic, and it was totally wasted. And it was wasted once in IL2, was wasted twice in IL2 Pacific battles. It was wasted in Forgotten Battles. It was wasted in 1946. To the point that today, if you read and hear my young rounds, you will see that I have a it's chronicle. I have a chronicle dislike for Oleg Maddox and anything he does and anyone who he associates with. Because he also was a liar. He was all around the place claiming he was doing the most realistic product possible. Lies, lies, and more lies. That's where I got the really strong dislike for people who lie to me in the simulator world. Because it was years of constant lying, and it was years of struggling to get things done that should be done. I'm going to name just one instance, okay? The Focus 190 had a front view which was absolutely horrifying because there was an iron bar which was visible from the pilot point of view within the game, and that iron band bar reached almost to the center of the gun sight. So if you had to track anything, you had to do it blindly because you couldn't track anything because it would be hiding below that bar. Well, the Focke-Wulf 190 was renowned for having one of the best forward views of any World War II planes, and that iron bar was not visible for the pilot at all. And we were on to that particular stupid topic, which would have been easy to fix in maybe 1 week. Nothing else, 1 week. Well, that particular simple topic was a reason for flame fests, hate threats, well, that kind of stupid thing for years. Not kidding here. Took more than 5 years to finally IL2 portray the cockpit of the Focus 190 as it should be. And all along that route, for those years, of course, the developers of the game were on record saying that that bar was perfectly placed here, there, that it was perfectly visible. And at the end, they had to bow down to the evidence because people started taking pictures from actual museums within the cockpit of the Focus 180, and that bar was nowhere to be seen from the pilot's perspective. So in the end, they fixed it. But if it took 5 years for them to do a minor fix on a stupidly simple thing that was pretty obvious for everyone to see. Just imagine when it comes down to performances. And if that stupid topic was the origin of massive flame threats and hate and controversy in the forums, and for bans and for people being, well, called everything, just imagine what happened when it came down to the performance of a plane. It was a mess. And the problem with War Thunder is that I'm looking at IL2 second part. Is IL2 online? Uh, well, MMO. Is happening the same. Boards are a total mess. Everyone is hating. Everyone is trolling. There's absolutely no CV people around. And any argument you make in because of historical reason or argumenting on realistic reasons is going to be shut down by fanboys because they don't want to see their planes of choice being fixed. Basically, it's the same. It's exactly the same thing as back then, and they will go to whatever streams to prove or try to prove their point. So yeah, that's one of the things that brought me out of War Thunder as well. But back to the topic, IL2 worth getting? Depends. If you are as draconian as I am about flight models, no. If you just look for a simulator game which can be fun and which with mods I have to actually allow and admit is not bad, yeah, it can be worth getting. Yeah. Next question. Hey Ram, can you recommend some web page or forums where people being interested in the subject can read about World War II plane characteristics, development tactics, etc.? Well, actually, I think I can. I read a lot of stuff from warbirdsforum.com. Just do a look in Google for that, and it's www.warbirdsforum.com. I also read a lot in the Axis history forums, which of course are mostly related to the Axis forces and particularly so the Germans. But it's a very good place to find pretty reliable information from all the sides because there are a lot of arguments and counter arguments, and all of them from people who really have a good knowledge basis, and usually very good information, raw information from actual manufacturers and tests, historical tests done back in World War II are posted. I don't take part in them. I just read them. I am kind of a shadow presence. Um, because I think I have my hands full with just one board, which is the one in War Thunder, and I'm also a little bit of forums at the moment, but whatever. But they are very good, really, really good sources of information, and for the most part, and yeah, for the most part, they are very civil. Compared with War Thunder, they are the paradise. There's still now and then some hate going on, some personal garbage thrown to each other, but for the most part, it's pretty civil. So, yeah. Next question. Hey Ram, related to your frame per second problems for recording, have you tried NVIDIA Shadow Play? You need an NVIDIA card for it. Oh, well, actually, yeah, I have I don't have that particular tool, I guess. I have to look for it because I haven't yet. I have been a little bit busy lately, but will give it a try. I have actually an NVIDIA GeForce GT555X or M. Sorry. Yeah, GT555M. So probably will work. I will take a look and see if that improves my problems with frames per second in Star Sector. Next question. Ram, I understand your decision to stop playing War Thunder, as I see your main problem is matchmaking and developers, but we need your knowledge about ACM in War Thunder. So what do you think about a format where you duel with volunteers in custom battles and speak about the things that they did right or wrong, or to let them flavor them on planes and take some planes that people took as bad and like the P-51. So you don't have to fight with matchmaker and devs, and we will still learn something. Well, you are going to still learn something because I'm going to keep on posting fighter combat school videos, ACM stuff, fighter styles, explanations, ACM, that kind of stuff. and probably some of it will be with War Thunder footage. I don't have any plans to do it like an organized, I think. It's more like if I'm thinking about making a video and I need some footage for it, I will just jump into the game and maybe ask Bismarck or someone who's in my friend list to act as a sparring so I can illustrate the point. But it's nothing that I'm going to do like a special format about. It's going to happen, but not in a regular fashion. Mostly at the moment, guys, I'm trying to keep me away from War Thunder, keep myself away from it. Um, Simply, I'm burnt out from it. I'm so pissed off with Gain, and I'm so pissed off with the game. Um, but I will go back to it, and I will, yeah, do some kind of stuff, but won't be like in a scheduled way. Also, you have the oh the subscribers event, which we had one 2 weeks ago. Well, actually a week and a half now, and which incidentally, if you are listening to this point, you deserve to win one. So yeah, there you go. I'm hiding the announcement for my next custom battle with subscribers. It's going to be this Friday, same hour as last time, so 7 p.m. Spanish time, which is universal time plus one, UTC plus one. 7 p.m. UTC plus one. Remember, and the password is going to be RunJB, in not in caps, just in lowercase. Um, why I'm hiding it in here? Because I don't want the room to be full of people and for people to be left out. If guys who really like to see my videos want to fly with me, well, first they have to see my videos. Next question. Ram, how did the F3F compare to contemporary biplanes? I don't know. I know quite a lot about planes, especially so about World War II planes. The F3F was a pretty war plane, and honestly, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough about the plane. I know some things about it, how it was developed, and its performance numbers, which seems it was kind of a boom and summer biplane compared with other much more maneuverable ones. But I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure. So instead of going and playing the card of I know a lot and looking for information about the plane on the internet, I'd rather say I don't know. I know some stuff about it because I've seen stuff about it in my books, but I never got an interest on it, so I don't really know. Sorry, I'm sorry. Next question. Hey Ram, did you ever fire a gun of any kind, and what's your general view on weapons? Well, my view on weapons is that they are for killing people. So I don't really like what they are for. But they are so damn fun. Yeah, I have fired some of them. I have fired an MG3 machine gun. I have fired a Zetme C. The Zetme, if you is actually the original G3, the German G3, the assault rifle, well, the battle rifle actually, it was developed in Spain after World War II, after the development of the Sturmgewehr 45, which was designed from the Germans for an assault rifle on the last days of the war. The development team came to Spain and worked for the Spanish government in developing the rifle, which was developed as the Zetme, which are the initials for, I'm not going to say the name in Spanish because you are not going to understand it, but it was basically an assault rifle. It had a short ammunition, the Kurzpatrone. I don't know if I said that in German properly, but whatever. Later on, the German team came back to Germany. Germany purchased a license from Spain because Spain had the patents of the rifle mechanisms, and they started building the C3, but they did so with a full-sized rifle cartridge, so they turned it into a battle rifle. The Spanish one didn't have as much kick as the G3 had. However, later on, Spain also adapted the Zetme to fire NATO ammunition, and that's the one I fired. They call it the Chopo, which is a very strong tree. It's in the name of a very strong tree. Really, that thing kicked like a mule. Oh shoot! I just fired 3 shots with it, and I can tell you my shoulder was hurting. Afterwards, for a while, I was not used to that, of course. I have not done any military service in the Spanish army, as I got, I'm not sure it's to say lucky enough to avoid it. Um, I was studying. Well, in Spain, you could delay the moment you had to join the army for your military service as a conscript, back when the conscription was here in Spain. But if you were studying in the university, you could ask for a delay of some years to let you finish off your studies before joining the army for was around a year more or less. And I was lucky enough that I had enough delays because of my studies that when the time came that I should join the military service, it was already gone. The Spanish military was no longer based on conscription, but as a professional army. So I never did the military service. I think I was lucky because the military service was kind of everyone speaks about it and have nothing to do with firing weapons, and that's what I would have enjoyed the most. But yeah, I have had the chance to fire some weapons. I know some people who are related to the military, if not in the military themselves. For starters, my uncle was um, medical captain in the Air Force and retired as a colonel of the Air Force, medical colonel, of course. So yeah, I have some connections with the army, and I have had the chance to fire some weapons. The SETME, the MG3, and the latest G36 assault rifle, and the one that's right now in service in the Spanish armed forces. And general aviation weapons, they are needed, but I don't like what they stand for. And honestly, I know this is going to bring me a lot of misunderstandings from people from the US, but I would not be able to live in a country when everyone can own a gun freely, because I wouldn't feel safe. I know there's a lot of controversy about that, and that's a constitutional um, right for every U.S. citizen. But honestly, uh, so many guns. A gun can do so much wrong in the wrong hands. The gun in itself doesn't kill anything. People who say that are right. But someone who has problems and has the right to own a gun can cause so much trouble. So yeah, that's my view on weapons. Next question. Ram, how come how come an LA5 outturned my fully upgraded Spitfire Mark 2B at low alt going at 250 kilometers per hour? I'm not the one to be asked this question. I don't know. Ask IGN. They are the ones doing the flight models. I have nothing to do with that. How come it could happen? If if you was using the vertical and you were just in the horizontal, could happen. If it was actually faster and used the extra speed to cut inside your turn for a short while, it could happen. But if it was a very long protracted fight at slow speeds, I don't know. That's the only answer I can give. So ask Ajin. Next question. That question is actually more a comment than a question. It's about the question that I answered last week about B-17s being bombed by other B-17s while they were over the target zone. Um, and it reads like this. The Germs bombed B-17 formations. Holy cow, they seriously left nothing worth trying to adapt. Absolutely not, nothing at all. I mean, they really did their best to stop the bomber offensive. The most known thing is that they developed the first jet fighter, which was the Mi-262. Well, the first jet fighter in service. or not, because the meteor was slightly before, but it's kind of weird because the MS-262 was actually in operational testing before the meteor came into service. So I still think the 262 came first, but it was the first advanced yet with all the advanced aerodynamics. They also tried using rocket launchers. Everyone knows about that because you can see it in them in War Thunder. They tried air-to-air missiles. Not actually tried. There was some operational testing done, but there was an actual air-to-air missile, the Rustar X4, which actually was a wire-guided missile, and it was the basis for most of the ATGMs of the post-war because it was operated by a joystick from the pilot's cockpit, and it had a flare behind the missile, and the pilot would have to do was to steer the flare into the bomber. It never came operational, and there were some anti-tank versions, the X7, and that's where the first generation of post-war ATGMs came from. They also tried surface-to-air missiles. They actually did, yes. Some missiles as the Wasserfall, which was kind of a small radio-controlled B2, were were being developed. They actually were never developed to the even to the prototype stage. I mean, they were trying to make them work, but the problem is that the technology of the day simply wasn't up to standards. But they operated in a very similar way as the air-to-ground guided bombs, the radio control, basically. They had an operator on ground guiding the missile through radio waves, and the operator would steer it into the formations of B-17s. That was the idea. It was never operational, but it wasn't that far from being operational. Still, it was too advanced for the era. They tried, well, they developed the first integrated night fighter defense and AJ defense. I mean, the British were close, but their radars were not accurate enough to deploy the proper altitudes and situations as the Germans could, because the German radar technology was much more precise than the British, at least in the beginnings. They were actually they tried recoilless rifles, a tube when you shoot a bullet through one side and a counterweight goes through the other side, so there's no recoil. Well, they tried several of those recoilless rifles on the wing of a Focus 590 and activated by a photo cell. So when the plane went just below a B-17 or whatever bomber it was, the shadow casted by the bomber would activate the guns and they would automatically fire upwards. That actually was also used trying to get tanks, this time with the recoilless rifles pointed downwards and with a magnetic detector. So when the plane came over the tank, the rifles would automatically fire. However, they of course they massacred the ability of the plane to maneuver, and they got performance by a lot. So any plane with those things was going to be easy food for interception. So they never were more than a proposal, and while some of them were tested operationally, they were in single digits, like never more than 10. Now, as you can see, there were a lot of weapons and a lot of things they tried. So, in comparison, really trying to bomb a bomber formation doesn't look that evolved or so desperate, doesn't it? Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's Young with Ram. Thanks a lot for watching. Remember to post up your questions in the comment section below, and to upvote those questions you want to see answered the most. Also remember, this Friday, 7 p.m. UTC plus 1, subscriber event, and password is going to be RunGB with non-capital letters. Hope to see you there. We'll have some fun. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching, and see you later.
life's a little easy. The stress from the world outside. Never be longer, we'll be alright.